128 on Prep Some More as we go to third inning, and this is the portion of the show where we have our interview segment every day, and on Wednesdays, we're joined by Bob Holtzman, who writes for the South Bay Daily Breeze in Torrance, California, and we speak college football with Bob, and obviously this is a huge weekend. It's Showdown Saturday, Bob, and games all over the place. Which is the one that you are most looking forward to this weekend?
Well, of course, it's the game right here in Southern California, Pat, Cal and USC. I just think that it's the first really big Pac-10 game in quite a long while. I think both teams have a chance to win, and I think it could be a shootout, an absolutely amazing game. The Coliseum's going to be sold out for the first time against California since 1930, and it's going to be the first non-UCLA or Notre Dame home game sellout since 1952. So obviously, the Trojan fans here in Southern California are jacked for this one.
Yeah, and I bet there will probably be quite a few Cal fans down there as well, considering that there are a lot of Cal alums that live in the Southern California area. I mean, this has great makings for a Pac-10 game, both teams being undefeated at this point, considering Cal knocked off USC. Unlike one of the other big games where Texas plays Oklahoma, this rivalry hasn't been one-sided. In fact, Jeff Tedford has played very well as a coach against USC in his time there, and Cal's had a few other games where they easily could have won against the Trojans. So this is a very even matchup. Kind of surprised for the point spread, 7.5 points for USC. Obviously, they're number one ranked team in the country, but I don't know, Bob, looking at this matchup, I think Cal has more weapons in terms of quantity on offense than USC does when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, J.J. Arrington, Chase Lyman, Jeff MacArthur, second-team All-American receiver, Garrett Cross, good tight end. USC, their main weapons, obviously Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. Lendale White's a nice running back, 3 or 4 yards in a cloud of dust, but I think Reggie Bush is going to be the best player on the field, no doubt, but I think Cal has more options, whereas USC's top option guy, or top guy on offense, Reggie Bush, is their best player, obviously, but sometimes their only weapon.
I don't know if he's their only weapon, Pat. I mean, SC's pretty loaded, and the way Norm Chow, the offensive coordinator at SC, runs his offense, he allows them to spread the ball out. I think the better question is how is Cal's offense going to do against a legitimate defense, and how is Cal's defense going to do against SC offense, especially the Cal defense. They're ranked 11th in the country, but besides Air Force, who's ranked in the top 30 nationally at 29, New Mexico State is last in the nation on total offense, and Oregon State's ranked 60th. Now here comes USC with a lot of different weapons. Steve Smith's a great young wide receiver. Dwayne Jarrett's still learning as a true freshman, but he's pretty good. You got, like you said, Lendale White is a tough running back that can gain hard yards for you, and then Reggie Bush, who is, as they call him, the president. I would be happy to be the president of that guy's fan club. 212 yards, all-purpose yards a game. I like SC in this one, to be honest with you, Pat. Even though Cal has been a team that's beaten SC last year, and they should have beat them 2 years ago in the Coliseum. They got a bad call where Kareem Kelly caught a phantom touchdown pass that made the difference in the game.
Well, I'm curious to see if Norm Chow is going to really allow Matt Leinart to throw the ball downfield, because it seems like in the times I've watched USC this season, Leinart has mainly thrown the short intermediate passes, particularly the middle screens and the screens, the wide receiver screens to the outside. He hasn't thrown the ball too much downfield, and I'm curious to see how much he's going to do that against Cal this weekend. You like USC winning by a couple touchdowns on Saturday?
Well, I think they'll cover the spread. I think it'll be about a 10-point margin of difference. I just think that with the crowd, Pete Carroll running a defense that already has 16 sacks and 9 interceptions and had a bye week. Last year, Pete Carroll said the bye week might have hurt the team because he let them off easy. I'm sure he didn't do that this past week.
Well, it's going to be a huge, huge game on Saturday. Obviously, as you mentioned, sold out, ESPN Game Day on hand. It's Cal against USC, one of the biggest games in the Pac-10 in quite a while. One of the big games in the Big Ten this season will be Minnesota at Michigan. And this is an intriguing match because both teams are unbeaten in conference play. Wisconsin-Ohio State is another good matchup in the Big Ten, but particularly we're going to touch on Minnesota-Michigan. This Minnesota team has been one that you've been high on from the very beginning of the season, before the season even starts, as a matter of fact. But this matchup is very intriguing because you got a Golden Gophers team that is known for the run. Obviously, they got two outstanding running backs, but Michigan right now is ranked number 1 in the Big Ten in run defense.
Not just the Big Ten, Pat, but the whole country. Michigan right now ranked number 1 for rush defense in all of NCAA football, but I love Minnesota. I think that junior center Greg Esslinger is a guy that people are going to get to know as a great run-blocking lineman, and I think the Gophers are going to finish what they started last year. I think they're going to win the Little Brown Jug in the Big House. I think it's going to be the Gophers' first win in Michigan Stadium since '86. A little funny note for you, ESPN moved this game to ESPN Classic, I think that tells you something. They expect this to be a great game and maybe one that Minnesota fans are going to remember for a very long time.
Yeah, how often do you see ESPN have live games on ESPN Classic? Normally, obviously, it is one of the past contests, but that should be a good matchup. You like Minnesota, obviously, winning this game. Do you think that they can come away with a couple touchdown victory in this one?
Well, I think it's going to be close just because I think Minnesota's kind of got to get over the hump. I think Michigan's defense will challenge Barber III and Lawrence Maroney, the two great running backs. Look for quarterback Brian Capito to be a big factor in this game. If he can stretch the field, go to his wide receivers, the redshirt freshman Ernie Wheelwright and Jared Ellerson, and maybe even Paris Hamilton, I think you're going to see Minnesota maybe be able to open this one up a little bit. Michigan's offense, ranked 83rd in the country, not that great this year with the freshman quarterback, but you can never count out a Michigan team. Minnesota was leading 28-7 going into the fourth quarter last year, and they found a way to lose that. But I think the Little Brown Jug is going to go back to the Twin Cities.
Could be a defensive battle. You mentioned Michigan, pretty poor on offense. And, of course, Wisconsin, Ohio State, the other Big Ten game, looks like that could be a defensive battle as well. Texas and Oklahoma has been a one-sided battle when these teams have met. Mac Brown still can't find a way to beat Oklahoma. And looking at his comments, I guess he was very upset with reporters last week because they kept asking him about the Oklahoma game rather than asking him about their win over Baylor. I mean, someone's got to get the message home to Mac Brown that no one cares if you beat Baylor. All the Texas fans care about is if you beat Oklahoma, a team that has embarrassed them over the last several seasons.
Well, isn't it interesting how, coaches will always say we're focused on this team this week, but the coaches that see the reporters moving a week ahead to the big game that they lose every year get frustrated by it. And I think that's a sign of part of the problem in this Texas-Oklahoma thing. Mac Brown knows how badly the Longhorns fans want to beat Oklahoma, and yet for some reason he comes up short year after year. And what's most remarkable about this game this year, Pat, is I think this is maybe the year that Texas could beat Oklahoma. Cedric Brown is just running the ball beautifully. I think he's averaging over 180 yards a game. Vincent Young's phenomenal, and their defense is much improved under new defensive coordinator Greg Robinson.
You mentioned Vincent Young. I'm just not completely sold on this guy, Bob. I think Oklahoma is going to do everything they can to shut down Cedric Benson and that Texas running game because I'm not so sure Vincent Young can make plays happen on his own especially against a Sooner defense. I don't know. I seem to see something that's going to happen that's similar to the last few years where Oklahoma wins this game going away, even though it is in Dallas.
Well, the one thing that I think maybe that will hold this game off from being a blowout is that Oklahoma is going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball hard with true freshman Adrian Peterson. That guy is unbelievable. I've been completely impressed with him. He runs like he's on train tracks. He's so smooth and fluid, and I think he's going to hear his number called quite a few times in the Cotton Bowl on Saturday. I do like Oklahoma in this one. I just think that they have the experience, they have the talent, and like I said, they have Adrian Peterson, who everyone's going to get to know over the next couple of years in college football.
Okay, let's go elsewhere in the Big 12 because obviously we know the best teams in the Big 12 are in the South as opposed to the North. It's been a rough go of it for the North. Last week, Nebraska and Missouri did get wins, of course, against other teams in that Northern Division. This weekend, CU goes up against Oklahoma State. Colorado coming off a loss to Missouri last weekend, and they go up against a Cowboy team, obviously, that is ranked among the top 25 in the country. So it's going to be a tough go of it for the Buffs, who had aspirations after their 3-0 start of maybe winning the Big 12 North title, but that's not going to happen if they lose this weekend.
It won't be easy to lose this weekend, or it won't be easy to win the Big 12 North title if they lose this weekend, but Big 12 North right now is so inconsistent, so confusing, and just so mediocre that you might be able to lose 2 games and still win the division title. I think that might be the direction that part of the Big 12 conference is headed. As for Colorado, they're going to have to cut down on the turnovers. They had Joel Klatt, 3 interceptions last week in the loss at Missouri, including the one in the end zone where the Missouri DB, Shedonia Mitchell, just kind of took it from the Colorado wide receiver. And he even said after the game, I felt like I just wanted it more than Evan Judge, the Colorado wide receiver. Oklahoma State poses a whole new set of problems for the Colorado defense and the offense. Oklahoma State's been giving up only about 14 points a game on the defensive side, and they got that great running back in Vernon Morancy. excuse me. And I think I like Oklahoma State, even though the game's at Boulder. I just think with their running attack and their defense, Colorado is not going to be able to come back after the tough loss at Faurot Field in Columbia.
On Wednesday afternoons, we're joined by Bob Holtzman as we talk college football every week right here on 1010 KSIR on Preps and More. And we've particularly touched on 4 ball games, and let's just go through them again, Bob, as far as the games that you like USC over California. I like Cal to pull off the upset this weekend, but you think the Trojans are going to win by about 10 points?
I think there's just too much defense on the Trojan side of the football. I think they're going to slow down that Cal offense just enough, and that's how they're going to win that game.
And in the other games, you like Minnesota on the road at Michigan and Oklahoma at home against Texas and Oklahoma State to win in Boulder.
That's right.
Okay, Bob Holtzman joins us every Wednesday, and we'll speak with Bob again next week after this showdown Saturday. We'll recap the games from this past weekend, and we'll get onto the games that are going to be played, of course, the weekend of October 16th as well. Bob, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll speak to you again next Wednesday.
Have a great weekend. It's going to be a fabulous college football Saturday.
No doubt about it. Take care, Bob. And it is 1:39 on Preps and More. Take a break. You're listening to Preps and More on 1010 KSIR.